Okay, let's talk about how to project your voice while singing. And you might have already heard some of these kind of common advice. Imagine your friend is across the road and you're calling out to them, or imagine you're trying to send your voice to the back of the room. Now, whilst these tips can help for some people, but because it's still imagery, I find that students can have different interpretations of what this means. And sometimes this means getting there with clean, correct technique, but other times it means kind of just forcing and shouting things through. I think there's a better way. And so today I want to unpack exactly what actually allows you to project your voice, especially in a healthy manner. And I'll share this from an anatomy lens, a physiological lens, but also at the end, I want to share with you a progression of exercises that can help you with this. Now, real quick, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Ivan. I'm a voice teacher who works with students from all around the world over Zoom. And really on this channel, my goal is to make learning how to sing as simple and as easy as possible. So if that is up your lane, consider subscribing wherever you're joining me from. If you're interested in working with me privately, I've also got some links down in the description on how you can do so. If you want to inspire our next episode, also let me know down in the comments what you want me to talk about next. So let's start here. Instead of aiming to project your voice, I want you to aim for efficient phonation. Now, what do I mean by this? Have you ever wondered how we actually create a sound? At its most simple level, sound is created when we basically blow air from our lungs up against our vocal folds, which close and resist against this, and we create a bit of a buzz, a bit of a buzzing sound. Now, generally to create a stronger buzz, all we need to do is we blow a bit more air and we get the vocal folds to connect a bit deeper and create a bit more resistance. But what most people don't realize is how finessed this feeling is. Your vocal folds are really tiny. So to go from something that's a bit softer to something that's a bit stronger, it's not really this big move or adjustment that we need to make. And so to really help you project without that feeling of push, that feeling you have to give it a lot in order to make it work, a big part of this is learning to make this process more efficient and more refined. So here is a series of exercises that can help you feel a more efficient phonation. So step one here, let's paint the feeling of bringing our chords together efficiently. And I want you to try go from a breathy sound to a clean sound like this. A, 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 A. Now, as you're doing this, right, what I want you to notice is to go from this kind of softer, breathy kind of quality to something that's a bit cleaner, a bit stronger. It's really not that big of a jump. If you feel like you have to do a lot to make this happen, just see if you can kind of experiment around a bit. How can you make this adjustment feel easier, feel smoother, feel like you have to do less? Because if you can do this, right, this should start to highlight to you that a lot of our work isn't necessarily about just pressing those chords as hard as possible together, but learning to feel them as finesse as possible, making those adjustments as small as possible, because that ability to bring those chords accurately together is what allows us to project when we want to. And now this brings us to step two. Once you can find this kind of cleaner quality, we can start to build more strength into this feeling. So if I just find that first exercise again, A, 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 A. So that's clean. And then I switch it over to B. B, 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 B. B, 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 B. B, 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 B. I'm using this B, and it can really be any sound, but I'm using it to see if I can add a bit more pressure or a bit more kind of strength to the sound. But I stick with the same rule. I'm trying to make sure that as I'm trying to add more strength, more closure, more resistance to the sound, it still kind of doesn't feel like I'm changing a lot, right? And this forces me to be more accurate, more efficient with this process. Now, if at any point you feel like you have to push through a lot more air, a lot more volume, or like, your throat feels a bit more tight and uncomfortable, just take a break. Because ultimately, we're not really trying to force chords to just connect more onto that airflow. A lot of times, we're just trying to coordinate it. And if at times you kind of miss, the chords don't really want to do it, just be a bit more patient and allow it to slowly happen. Now, in this final step of this progression, what we can start to do is we want to make this a bit more practical, a bit more applicable to singing. Now, one of the ways you can think about it is in a song, you don't have a chance to slowly find this more efficient closure, this closure that you can use to help you with projection. So what you can do is you can go through that whole progression again, but then you take a pause and see if you can find it from thin air. And a bit like this. A, B, 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 B. So if I'm at that phonation, I'm going to take a bit of a break. B, 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 B. See if I can get back to that without that whole build up. And you might miss. You might feel like it's not as clean as what you've done with that whole build up. But this is that part of that process. This is how you can go back and forth until you can get more efficiency or more accuracy with your phonation. Anyway, that is all. Hopefully you found this useful. Please leave a 5-star review if you're on the podcast, or like, comment, subscribe if you're on YouTube. If you have any questions on this, just let me know down in the comments below. Happy to get to it. Apart from that, my name is Ivan. If you're interested in working with me, links down in the description. Apart from that, I'll see you all next week. Take care.